Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Franchise Show. I hope you're all doing well. This is the show where we get under the hat of all things franchising, and it's a live show. Well, it's live if it's 5:15 GMT on the 17th of February 2026, and because it's live, we love you to get involved. Pop up a comment, say hello. If you're listening on LinkedIn or on YouTube, you can just use the comment facility. Say hello. We will welcome you to the show and get you involved in our conversations. So what do we do each week on the Franchise Show? We take a new topic and we take a lovely guest. Today is no exception. Returning guest, returning after 2 weeks guest. And before we introduce you to our lovely guest, let's talk about the topic that we're going to be talking about today. And today we are going to be talking about citation campaigns and content clusters. Complicated words there, but we're going to unpick them and see what they mean in the broader sense of visibility for your brands and working with SEO and working with the internet and all sorts of search engines and AI. So it's going to be a great rounded conversation in that sense. So before we get too deeply into that, let's introduce the fantastic Michel Leconte from SeoSamba. Michel, welcome back to the Franchise Show.
Thank you for having me, Harvey. Very nice to be here.
You're absolutely welcome, and it's fantastic to have you here, of course. So let's do a little introduction again to yourself, but also let's talk a little bit about SeoSamba, particularly in light of the topic today. And we're talking about visibility, and we're talking about, it was called search engine optimization. Maybe it won't be in the future. I don't know. But let's talk a little bit about that and how citation campaigns and content clusters fit into that.
Yeah, sure. Well, so my name is Michel Leconte. I'm the CEO of SeoSamba. We are a marketing automation and CRM platform that is extremely well suited for distributed brands such as franchise systems. And so we unify marketing and we help brands gain visibility, across the network and systemized everything that has to do with from SEO, AEO, and search engine optimization to social marketing, reputation marketing, call tracking, and so we get all those data points essentially together, and we unify all of this so that on top of that we can deploy AI tools that have the proper context to actually help our brand customers gain in efficiencies. And so when we talk about SEO and AI and and how the search behaviors are evolving these days, what we're seeing is that AI search is not really replacing SEO. It's basically reorganizing the visibility and accelerating a trend that was actually already there before that AI really appeared in the picture, right? So it restructured that visibility around the concept of authority, around the concept of intent versus just paying attention to keywords, right? And so then we can delve further into that topic, but basically from a very practical standpoint, when you have subjects such as franchise AI around content clusters and citations, this is basically where we live, the world in which we live in essentially every day, my team and I, right? And so that's I think that's paramount to this new visibility layer that we can see.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was interesting you said there about not just keywords as well. Because keywords was all what it was about going back maybe 10 years. I'm just having a look at a comment here. Nick says something appears to be wrong. Oh, okay. Well, let's see if we can continue on for a little bit. Unless we just give me one sec. I just want to see. It appears that we are streaming on LinkedIn. Let's keep going for another couple of minutes. Maybe we are. Maybe we are, because Lisa's come in with hi everyone. Let's keep going. Let's keep going for a little bit. You just mentioned there about keywords, and I think that going back, everyone who is familiar with search engine optimization, whether that's on a website or whether that's in a social campaign of some sort, understands that phrase, keywords. And going back a number of years, it was all about just slotting in these right words into various different campaigns, wasn't it? But it's moved on a little bit from there in the last few years.
Yeah, well, it has, because in this AI era, your brand doesn't just need to rank; it needs to be referenced. It needs to be cited, and so and that's really what AI visibility is about, right? And so now those systems understand the world differently than what Google has been doing for the past 25 years, right? If we roll back the clock a little bit, at the inception of Google, and why the search engine actually emerged as a dominant force in the search engine world, it's all due to one patent, and that patent had to do with the way that website would interlink and how they would interlink, and the context would be understood from keywords, and which keywords would be used to actually link to another website or another web page, and that context enabled Google to give better results to the end users, and because they were getting better results at Google rather than using Yahoo, let's say, then everybody flocked to Google, right? Because it was working. It had limitation, and so the Google team built equivalents, synonyms, and different things that would be inferring essentially from the environment of the website. They at some point they created their own social element with Google Plus. I don't know if you recall that initiative at some point, where they were trying to actually have the notion of authorship that would go along with the actual content, as to give a trust signal of how much weight should we really give to this blog article, web page, and so forth, based on the author credentials really associated with it, for instance. And so the direction was already clear, right? That they were trying to actually get more of a sense of the weight of everybody's contribution. Everybody's got a voice, but your voice on some topics, obviously, your voice is really important, Harvey, because there are topics that you're master and you recognize for, but then some other topics, that might not be the case. And so everybody's got a voice, but they shouldn't be weighted equally, right? And so that's the idea. And so fast forward to the AI world, now we got systems that actually have a broader understanding of the concepts at work. And so the keyword is not as relevant as really the subject matter that is being treated, and the number of angles that are being used to actually process and discuss that subject matter. And so when we are talking about content cluster, that's really what we are talking about. It's understanding the intent from the searcher point of view, and then building content around the questions that those people have. And so really your role now as an SEO is not about so much tracking the keywords, although it does still play an important role. But in addition to that, it is really about building essentially the proper clusters that would actually help you and help your customers essentially get their best foot forward in terms of, we are experts in this niche and that niche and so forth, and this is how those different things relate to each other, right? So that's really the content cluster aspect of things in which we live day in and day out right now, right? So there are other elements that comes into the picture, but so generally speaking, yes, it was already a work in process, right? The evolution from just keywords towards something that is broader in terms of, and a smarter type of understanding essentially of the subject matter at hand.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting because it goes so far beyond that. And when we're talking about content clusters, are we talking about from different sort of social media, from a website? Are we starting to get into citations, which we're going to talk about in a minute? But if you get a cluster of content, have you got to, let's say as a franchisor, have you got to create that content on different platforms in order for that to be pulled together as a cluster of content?
Actually, that's an excellent question, because the structure plays a role. So the structure as per how that content is organized, but who's talking about that content and the context around it. So specifically about a franchise brand, this could be, all right, do we disseminate content only on a corporate website, or do we have local franchisee website, right? And so certainly the content that we are publishing and the cluster that we are building on the local franchisee website have also a local authority dimension to them that is attached to them. And then when you multiply this by the number of territories that you have in play, and you structure this in such a way that authority is also contributing to the overall authority of the franchise brand itself, you get a powerful structure in place that basically not only will help you be cited in those AI engine, but also will basically drive more authority from the sheer volume, essentially, and different platforms and different websites that are actually part of that structure. When we come to the citation, so obviously you do, and the citations you're going to get from multiple places. So and it's actually very interesting, because for in one way there's a resurgence in terms of the importance of citations, right? Because over the previous few years, the notion of publishing press releases online and so forth was kind of yes, well, that's something that you might want to do, but you're not going to have like a tremendous amount of readership essentially coming from these different places. But now with actually the advent of AI and the number of domains on which your press releases can be picked up and syndicated, it does actually play a greater role, if anything, than in the previous few years. And then the same goes for directories. Obviously, you need a Google business profile, but you have potentially hundreds of directories in which your brand could be cited. And now the question is how is that going to be structured? How is that going to be consistent across the board? And so you need a solution to manage this. For your brand, you need a solution to manage this for every single one of the territories essentially that are also part part of your brand and part of your system. So there's, if you will, there are internal citations, right, or the structure of that you can control of your brand, and for this to have a multiple horses in that race is a good thing, right? So there's been a dogma in the industry that, okay, well, we can have a single website and just having all of our franchisees serve from that website, and that would be enough, and they got to where you're gonna have like half a page or a single page on website, or 3 or 4 pages, and that's going to be good enough. Well, the reality is showing that it's not nearly enough, and actually distributed infrastructure is something that is extremely useful in the AI world. And also, if anything, I think that we've been fighting that dogma for many years, and we are being vindicated big time, essentially on that aspect. And so controlling the largest footprint that you can control in the structured way is a major advantage, and then you can amplify that content through citation campaigns, through basically linking campaigns that will and outreach campaigns that will get your content in some other platforms that will basically vouch for it.
I love that. I think we're going to talk about citation campaigns in a minute. I think what we're going to do is we're going to take a short break. This is going to be part 1 of the franchise show today. And we are going to come back in about 5 minutes with part 2. So exciting stuff. If you have been with us on YouTube, thanks for joining us. And we will see you shortly. I don't know what's going on here. It's so frustrating. Just give me 1 sec. What they're saying to do.